I'm going to show you 3 commands today. So 3 commands today. The first one and the most important of these 3 is the rotate command. And then 2 that are kind of related to each other. The first one is fillet, it's spelled like fillet, so a fillet is like, you can see that these edges here are rounded. Okay, you can do that. There's a couple of reasons to do that. I mean, one is that aesthetically you want something rounded, but also often rounded connections at edges distribute stress better, and so it makes the parts stronger. So that's a fillet, the rounded ones. And then third is chamfers. And that's really the same idea, but the facets are flat. So, for example, these things on the corners here, these flat cutoffs, you can do that with the chamfer command. And if we can get through these today, then next week we'll do the last thing on Fusion, which is showing how to take different bodies and combine them into an assembly. And an assembly is like this, where this crank arm with the wheel is one part that we made. This base thing is another part that we made. And then we said, okay, connect these 2 things in this way. And then you can do analyses where you rotate, move the parts around and make sure that things aren't hitting where they're not supposed to hit. So it's a useful thing before you spend a lot of time making individual parts. You can, using the Fusion tool, you can sort of visually inspect it and see that they're going to go together the way you want. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is, and we're going to do it as we make this part, just the crank arm, is the rotate command. And the rotate command is super useful anytime you want to make a part that has an axis of symmetry. Okay, so that's kind of the defining thing about this. Like, whoop, that's not what I wanted. So, all right. Remember that the key to rotate is having an axis of symmetry. If there's no axis of symmetry, then you can't really use the rotate command for the part. So let's go to Fusion. And I'm making a new part. So if you're not at a blank screen like this, you have to choose a new project or a new part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a sketch So I'm going to do a different shape first, and then we'll go back and look at the dimensions and make that specific arm. But so what I'm going to do is sketch some kind of shape, and then I'm going to tell Fusion what the axis is that I want to rotate this thing around. And then Fusion will rotate this shape around, this two-dimensional sketch shape, until it has a three-dimensional like revolved shape. So go to sketch first. And like always, when you hit sketch, it asks you what plane you want to do your sketch in. I want to do it in this one. And I am going to use this line tool that just connects pieces of lines. And I'm going to make just some crazy combination of things. You can do any shape you want. And I'm going to close it like that. So just make a shape and make sure that it's a closed sketch. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this line, this like y-axis, as the axis that it rotates around. And if you can visualize how this is going to work, we're going to get this kind of segmented like sphere shape, arrow shape, when this spins all the way around 360 this way. So I'll go finish sketch. And then I'm going to click on the shape I just made to highlight the whole thing. And then I'm going to go to create. I said rotate, it's revolve, it's called on this. So revolve. And it says, okay, I've already chosen a shape. Now I need to choose an axis to rotate around. And I'll choose this one. And it gives you some options. You don't have to go all the way around. You could go half of the way around or a quarter of the way or whatever. But if you go all the way around, you end up with this axis symmetric shape based on your sketch. Is everyone getting something like that to work? So one thing to remember about this is you always just want to do, so it's like you're doing the projection of the shape you want, but remember to only do half of the projection if you're going to rotate it 360 degrees. Otherwise, you have material crossing over material and it can cause errors. Okay. Or you can do the whole projection, but just then you have to tell it to only rotate 180 degrees because that's the limit before it starts crossing itself. Okay, so let's get rid of this revolve. So I'm going to right click on, I went down to this timeline and right click on that, and I'm going to delete the revolve that we just did. And then I'm going to go into I'm going to right click on the sketch, go into that. And so we still have this sketch. It looks like the other side because it happened to pick the other the opposite view. So I went into named views and clicked top, and then it gave me back what I had before.
I got a question about that.
Yeah.
If you were to go into those named views, is it always going to be the same orientation? So is it always
Yeah.
spin you back to the same?
Yep, exactly. Yep. So when you start defining something, there's a defined tops and side and stuff that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this time we have the exact same sketch. Okay. But this time I'm going to do my revolve around this. Okay. And you can try to picture what's going to happen when we do that. But it's going to be even though it's the same sketch, it's going to look unrecognizable as the three-dimensional shape we had before. Okay, so I'm going to go finish sketch. And it should be showing up, but it's not. What?
Oh, yeah.
What does it say?
Check the sketches folder and see if it's left. There you go. Click on the eye. Your left.
Oh, it wasn't though.
It's hidden right at the corner. There you go. Invisible now.
Oh, yay. Good job. Okay. So now I'm going to highlight this shape. I'm going to choose revolve. And this time for the axis, so it says select the axis, and I'm going to click this line instead. And so now we have this other thing. You can do, for your axis of revolutions, you can make your axis a part that is not even on the shape. So let's delete both of these and redo a sketch. So I'm going back to just the blank. And I'm going to start a new sketch. And this time, I'm going to use the circle. And that is going to be my sketch. And I'm going to revolve, when I'm done with this sketch, I'm going to revolve it around that same y-axis. And what we're going to get here is like a donut, a torus.
Can you not just make a torus?
Is there one?
I think it's like, if you look at the create picture, it says torus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure that I've never used that. But let's say you wanted some kind of little divot out of the torus or something, and then you got to do it this way. Okay, so I'll finish the sketch and I'll highlight it. And then I'll go to revolve. And I'll choose this as my axis. And there you go. Ooh, that looks delicious. So anything that has a hole all the way through it along the axis, you do by having the axis offset from the material. You can do it that way. Any questions about that? And so now I'm going to erase both of these, and we're going to actually do the part that we're given. So I'll delete the revolve, delete the sketch, go back to the home. And now I'm going to go back to that picture that I showed you at first of the crank arm. And we'll look at the dimensions and we'll start trying to make this. Okay, so there's a couple of ways that we could do this. One is we could sketch a circle, the base of that arm, and we could extrude it this far. And then we could do a new sketch on the end of that extrusion and sketch the disc and then extrude that small little bit, And then we could go and do another sketch here and extrude that. So that would be perfectly fine. The way I'm going to do it, just because we're talking about revolve, is I am going to make picture like the projection of the shaft part and the disc part, and then I'm just going to revolve that whole thing as one. And then we only have to do one additional extrude at the end. Okay. So let's see what the dimensions are. So it looks like that shaft has a length of 0.75 inches. The disc has a thickness of 0.05 inches. The diameter of the shaft is 0.2, 0.75, 0.2, 0.05. And then the diameter of the disc is 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to start with a sketch. And I'm going to use this continuous line tool to make a shape like this. So that's my closed half of a projection of this thing. And you can imagine I'm going to want to revolve it around the y-axis to make the disc at the end of that shaft. We have to choose these dimensions. Okay, so what do we want? So sketch dimension. What do we want this distance to be? So right now it says 1 inch. We want the diameter of that shaft to be 0.2. But remember that we're revolving this around the axis. So this distance we only want to be 0.1 if we want the whole diameter to be 0.2. Okay? Everyone with me on that? So I'm going to make this 0.1. And next, we want the thickness of the disc part to be 0.05. So this to this should be 0.05. And we want the diameter of the disc to be 1 inch. So we want the length of that top dimension of the disc to be 0.5 because it's going to double when we revolve. And now the last thing is we want the shaft to be 0.75. Well, there's two pretty similar dimensions here. The outside one, from the end of the shaft to the end of the disc. And then there's the inside one that goes from the end of the shaft to the start of the disc. I'm pretty sure that it was just the shaft that we wanted to be 0.75. We could look back at that sketch, but I think it was. And so I'm going to, instead of using the one that's blue right now as the dimension, I'm going to use the other one as the dimension and make that 0.75. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I do yet, but it'll all be up there. And so I'm going to make this 0.75. And so now I think that should be it.
What's the width of the
0.5 because the diameter of the disc is 1. Oh, the thickness of the disc? 0.05. Oh, the one you can't see? 0.5. Oh, yeah, 0.1 is the thickness there of that because it's only 1/2 of that shaft. And we want the diameter of the shaft to be 0.2. Anybody need more time to look at these dimensions or anything? So I'm going to finish this sketch. And I'll go back to home view. And I'm going to highlight this, and then I'm going to revolve it around that green axis. So click on that. Revolve. The axis I want is this one. And it always assumes that you want 360. If you don't, you just have to adjust that. And remember, you can always check after the fact to make sure, like in the revolves, make sure that you are right about which things you cut in half and stuff. So we can go to inspect and measure, like say we want to measure the diameter of that disc. We want it to be 1, and it says the radius is, the diameter is 1. So that's how we wanted it to be. We can do the same thing with the shaft. Measure that diameter. and it's 0.2 like we wanted. Oh, one other thing with these measurements is you can measure distances between things. So if we don't remember, if we dimensioned the length of that shaft, we could click on this, and it tells us the distance between those two highlighted circles is 0.75. Anybody have any questions about that? Oh, you just click on them both, and it knows that if you choose two things in a row without canceling, that you're trying to measure between those two things somehow. Any other questions? Okay, so now we need to make the little handle piece. That's just a simple rectangular extrusion. The width of that rectangular piece, I actually on here don't have the thickness of it, but let's make it 0.05 like the disc. It has a length of 0.4 and a width of 0.2 because it's just exactly tangent to that shaft. So I'm going to choose this as my sketch plane. And I'm just going to make a rectangle that goes, you can do it with the line, but I'm going to go rectangle from here to here. And then I want to make, you can see that those are all tangent, so the width is right, but I need to make the length of this thing 0.4. And now I'll extrude it away from the shaft, just 0.05 inches. So I'll highlight that, extrude, it guessed wrong, and I want to make it negative 0.05.
Question.
Yep.
So say you created that extrusion,
Mm-hmm.
and later on you realize instead of 0.4, it really needed to be 0.5.
Yeah.
How would you, I guess, edit it?
Yeah, right. So just go back into the sketch that you made it out of. Edit sketch and just change that dimension, and it'll ripple through everything you've done since. Yeah. Yes.
Is there any way to tie dimensions together? So like if the diameter of the shaft changed, then that.
I
handle
am,
would
yeah,
change?
that's a really good question, and I'm quite sure there is, but I don't know. I haven't done that, but I guess you could probably Google that, like Fusion. They probably call it parametric something. So then, like, I'm sure that each of these has some internal variable name, and then you just have to say D1 equals L1 or whatever.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
But I haven't done it on this. Um, Anybody need more time looking at this before we go on to the next part? Yeah.
Do you know how to like translate sketch, like shift it over essentially?
Oh, just like after you've already made it, now you want to move it to a different spot.
Right.
I think you just have to do that with dimensions, you know, and you can, one of your dimensions can be like a distance from the axis to the side. I don't think, like, you might think there's a way to just tell it you want to, you know, use a hand tool or something to move it over, but I don't think you can. Oh, how do you do that?
So highlight the piece.
Okay, in the sketch?
No, like you just like you can just highlight it. Like
Yeah.
if you click the left mouse and just drag it over the entire piece. Like you can
Okay.
click anywhere. Just drag it over. And then right click
Okay.
and then scroll down and there should be a button that says move at the very bottom. Weird. It's not doing here.
Appearance.
There's move to group.
Move. Oh, I think that's just a file thing.
No, sorry. It's at the top. It's move/copy.
Oh, yeah.
And if you click on that, it gives you move around that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That's cool. Okay, so yes. Okay, is everyone good with this piece? So now we're going to create we want to make that base. And instead of starting a whole new file, a whole new project, we're just going to go to create and new component. Okay, and these components are the things that you can put together into assemblies later. So go new component. And you can, I think you can, oh, you do have to pick a parent. So it guessed the way we wanted. Like we want this new component to have a relation to this thing here. So we'll go new component. That's the parent. Okay. And so it shows you a little ghost image of the old thing, but now we can create the new thing. And if you create the new, if you know you're going to be doing an assembly, you can make your life a little easier by creating the new piece right where you want it to be positioned relative to this piece. But if not, that's okay. You can position them later. So the next piece that we're going to do is this base. And the way I'm going to do this base is I'm going to, because I'm going to use the fillets and the chamfers later, I'm just going to make one half of this thing and then I'm going to mirror it. Okay. So I'm going to make, so basically like I'm going to make this base piece that's only half an inch long, 0.2 inches high. This is going to be 0.1 inch thick, and what's the height? 1 inch, looks like, yeah. And I'm going to cut the hole out of it. And then we'll do the chamfers and the fillets, and then we'll mirror everything. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with the sketch. And I'm going to use this line tool and make a shape that looks like this. And I want the height to be 1 inch. I want this thickness to be 0.1. That's already what it was. I want this to be 0.5. And this to be 0.1. And then I'm going to extrude it. I think the base width is 1 inch. So I'm going to extrude it 1 inch.
The base is 1 inch by 1 inch.
The whole base is 1 inch by 1 inch, I'll bet. But let me let me just make sure. 1 inch, 1 inch, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, can you go back to the measurements? Real quick?
Yeah, on the picture or on the sketch?
Sketch.
So does it not matter that it's not lined up with how it's going to be assembled?
Yeah, you know, the if you can do yourself a favor by thinking about it beforehand and lining it up the way you want, but it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
There are ways. The controls look a lot like that move command that Olivia just showed us, where like afterwards you can reposition, reorient, stuff like that. Yeah. Everyone okay on that sketch? Yeah. So now I'm going to cut the hole in the top and let's see where that's positioned. So the center of the hole is 0.2 from the top and in the middle of the side. And it's 0.2. So 0.2, 0.2. So I'm going to do another sketch here. Put a hole there.
far did we expand the original flag to say though?
One in.
That's right.
This has been.
And once you have that hole in place, you just extrude the material away. Yeah. Yeah, so it's in the middle, side to side, and then it's the center of the circle is 0.2 from the top of the plate.
And then the radius is
0.2. The diameter is 0.2. When we did the mirror last class, we had to make a plane to mirror it around. This time, the plane that we're going to use as the mirror plane is already the back of it. So we don't have to make a new one. It'll just let us select that. So that makes it easier. I think you can probably just highlight it like this to select everything. Well, we don't want this guy.
you can just go from the top, like right from the top, and then it won't get the.
Me neither.
Maybe just change your view. Yeah. So like,
If you click the body folder, you can select it directly.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can do it down here and select all the things that we've done. And so I've selected all those things. And now I'll go to mirror. And it says, okay, you selected these things. Choose the mirror plane. I want this. And there it is.